of gold.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another exciting episode of Ramble by the River. I'm your host, Jeff Nesbitt, and we've got a great show for you today. Not quite sure exactly when this one's going to come out, but it'll probably be somewhere right around Saturday, September 10th, 11th, right in that area. But as of right now, it's Sunday, September 4th, and I'm in a good mood. It's a good day. And this is going to be a really quick intro because the episode today is long. So yeah, let me tell you a little bit about my week. I did Hood to Coast, ran Hood to Coast, the relay race this year. It's the longest relay race in the United States, I think, maybe the world. That's what they say on Wikipedia. It was the longest one in the world, but I don't always believe that. It is long as fuck, though. It was 199 miles, 200 miles of running. You take turns, so you don't have to run the whole thing. It's not horrible. I had a good time. I had a really good time. My team was cool. I had good people in my van. Shout out to my Hood to Coast team, North Jetty Brew crew. And yeah, I had a really good time. I did get injured a little bit halfway through my second leg, which was at like 2 in the morning. I pulled a muscle in my calf, and it made it very difficult to continue. I did, though. I finished just with a much slower pace. Overall, I was sore for a few days afterwards, and that's it. But it was a really good time. I enjoyed it quite a lot. Another new thing that happened for the first time this week is that I traveled to Portland to interview a comedian. It was fun. The guy's name was Alex Falcone, and I've seen him online before, and I thought he was pretty funny. My wife ended up booking me the interview, and it went great. I had a really good time. While I was there, I went up there to Helium Comedy Club and caught their open mic night. It was really fun. I even put in my name to get some stage time, but they didn't give me any. It's okay. They said that it takes a few times before they'll let you go up, which is cool because it actually was really interesting to see comedians doing the work and trying jokes and stuff. It was fun. It's the first time I've ever been to a comedy show by myself. First time I've ever been to an open mic. So it was like the only comedy I've seen has been professionals and very polished, and this was definitely not that. It was way more informal, but it was really fun. I had a great night. I'm going to go back. I'm not sure if I'm going to go back this week, but I'm going to try to get up there and do some jokes. I think it'd be fun. The way that their open mic night works is that they post a list, and you have to go put your name on the list if you want to try to get some stage time. And then an hour and a half later, they will put the list on the wall outside the bar. So I had to go there at 5, I think, or 6. I don't know. I don't remember. But I had to go there, put my name on the list, and then just wait around for like 2 hours. And so I did that, and my plan was just to work on my material in that time. And then I realized, like, oh shit, my phone's at 10%. It was kind of scary because, not scary, but I did almost get stranded in a bad neighborhood in Portland without a phone. So I had taken my phone with me, and that was my only way to get anywhere because that's where I have all my money. I didn't bring a bunch of cash, and I brought my ID and my health insurance card in case I got hit by a bus, and my phone. And with my phone, I was using it to get a Lyft. So I'd call Lyft or Uber. Not call. That makes me sound so old. But I get on the Lyft app and find a ride. And then, oh shit, my phone's at 10%. I did not plan this well. So I just turned it off. And I just waited around, told time by the sun, and just worked on my material in my head. It didn't matter anyway. I didn't get a spot. But it was fun to kind of be in crunch time and have that adrenaline rush of like, you might actually have to go up and say these things to people soon. So you better make sure they sound okay. I liked that. I thought that was fun. So I'm going to try it again, but we'll see how it goes. How about some news and current events? I scanned the Apple News, and most of it was not something I gave a shit about. I did see one, though, that caught my attention. Lisa Kudrow, the actress who became a household name in the mid-90s for her work on the NBC smash hit Friends, is facing some harsh criticism this week. Known for her brilliant portrayal of an autistic adult living on her own in New York City, Kudrow stole the show and America's hearts with her goofy delivery and strained relationship with social norms. She was an American institution. I mean, who could forget Smelly Cat? The time she changed her name to Princess Consuela Banana Hammock. Or the time that she thought a cat was her mom. She was America's sweetheart. We loved Lisa Kudrow. We loved Phoebe. Phoebes, we used to call her. But apparently, she's the rudest celebrity of all time, according to Spencer, the guy off of the hills. According to BuzzFeed, which feels horrible to cite, this week, Spencer Pratt made headlines after he said on TikTok that Lisa Kudrow was the rudest celebrity he's ever met. Former reality TV star and entrepreneur Bethany Frankel also left a comment about Lisa. "That's crazy," she said. "She was on my talk show and I had a crazy experience also." Initially, Bethany didn't elaborate on why she wrote that. But now Spencer's story has made headlines and Bethany shared what she meant. So basically what happened, it was the time when I think it was The Hills or Laguna Beach. Those two shows were, I think, the same to me. But they were all the rage. And these kids basically had become very famous very quickly. And now they were in Hollywood, right? So they were at a party. And Lisa Kudrow came up and she said, "Hey, you better get away from this guy. He's got serial killer eyes." I thought that was pretty funny. This guy, Spencer, he said, "Hands down, one of the worst humans I've ever come in contact with. By far," he said. "Right in front of me at a party, she tells Heidi that she needs to get away from me as fast as possible because I'm going to murder her and that I have serial killer eyes." Well, that is hilarious. So my take on this is that she was probably joking. Her deadpan delivery makes it even funnier. The guy clearly didn't know she was joking. And if she wasn't joking, it was probably a reasonable warning. That chick probably should get away from that guy. He does have serial killer eyes. I think really what most likely happened is that Lisa Kudrow was like, "Who the fuck is this guy? Coming in, taking all the good shit off the craft services table. He's not even a real Hollywood person. He's a reality star. Fuck this guy and his serial killer eyes." That's just my take. But you got to remember that this is at a time when reality stars were detested by the public. Everyone was talking shit about them. This is like the Jersey Shore days. We cannot hold it against Lisa Kudrow because this guy was probably completely unaware how many people were actually talking shit behind his back. Right? Serial killer eyes are the least of his problems. And they're obvious. Everyone can see his face. She couldn't have been the only one to notice. She was just the only one brave enough and kind enough to say it to his face. That's my take. So the episode today is a doozy. It was a pain in the butt to make. What happened is that I had Paul scheduled. Paul Blaylock. He's a friend of mine from way back in the day. He's also a commercial fisherman and a dad, and he's a lot of other things, and he's a very interesting guy, and I was excited to have him on the show. So I got him in here, and it happened to be on a very warm day. Too warm, in fact. And we're in a crab shed, no ventilation, up here in the top. Heat rises, right? It certainly does. It got too hot. It got so hot, in fact, that we lost the podcast because the computer shut down to save itself. And it died. We all were devastated because a few minutes into the podcast, Jeff Hilton showed up to drop off my ladder. And I just told him, "Come on up." Him and Paul are old friends too, and I thought we could have a pop in and make it a threesome. It would be fun. Jeff was extremely hot too. He ended up popping the shirt off and sweating all over the place, and we made lots of jokes about that, and it was fun. I had a great time. Didn't realize till the very end that the whole show was a waste of time. Yeah. Anyway, so we tried again. I invited Paul back, and I said, "Jeff, you might as well pop back in too. We'll just do it again completely. Just try to do it just like we did last time." And that didn't work at all. We didn't even really try to make it the same as the time before because lightning doesn't strike twice. You can't do the same thing again. But it really was a struggle because something had happened to my computer and it kept crashing. So over and over again, we tried to film and crash. So there's several starts and stops and several restarts, and when all was said and done, I think we probably recorded 6 hours of content for this podcast episode and cut it down to 2 because we lost a lot of it, and it ended up making a funny show. So this is hands down the episode of the podcast that I have spent the most time on by far, probably double the second place. It's just insane. What I had to do to make this work was record a backup track during the actual recording for Hilton. And then I layered that track with the track from my main mics. And then I had to sit there through the entire conversation and toggle which speaker it was. So the entire thing is edited that way, and it was really hard. So I don't know. I hope you guys like it. I like it. I think it's cool. I think it's funny. These guys are the best. We got really drunk. I was very stressed out, and I kept drinking. Jeff and Paul also kept drinking. It gets a little sloppy. I'll be honest. It's not appropriate for kids. If you have your children with you, send them away or turn this off. You don't need to have them exposed to these drunken fools. That being said, it's pretty funny, I thought. Anyway, if you want to reach out to us on social media, you can find Ramble by the River on Facebook at Ramble by the River, and you can find Ramble by the River on Twitter at Ramble River Pod, also Instagram at Ramble by the River. If you want to suggest a guest or possibly advertise on the show or something like that, you can reach us at admin1, ADMIN, the number 1, at ramblebytheriver.com, and let us know what's up. All of this information, plus much more, can be found at ramblebytheriver.com. Ramble by the River is supported by the generous contributions of our listeners. Now, you're probably listening to this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or a similar free provider. But did you know there's actually a place where you can get early access to episodes, merch drops, bonus features, behind the scenes, regular updates, and access to messaging with yours truly. It's called Patreon. Patreon is a service that allows us to provide premium content at a small subscription fee and really just creates a community for the show. It gives us a place to connect. You can connect with other members of the Patreon, and you can connect with me. You can ask me direct questions. We can do Q&As. We can do meet and greets. We can do all kinds of stuff. That's also the first place where I'll post the content that is experimental. If I decide to make an episode that's a little different than the other ones, I'll try it out on the Patreon. In addition to those things, subscribers get access to Ramble on the Road, the companion podcast to Ramble by the River. That's a show where I get a little bit more personal, talk about my pains and sorrows, my hopes and dreams. It's a good show. I treat it like a therapy session. I pretty much just ramble, stream of consciousness style, and I have a good time. I also like to include lots of music and stuff. It's a fun show. I enjoy making that one probably the most of all. If you're a regular listener to these free episodes, then you are going to love the extras that come along with this membership. So do yourself a favor and head on over to ramblebytheriver.com, click subscribe at the top of the page, select your subscription tier, and get listening today. My guests today, and I say guests because we have two, are Paul Blaylock Jr. and Jeffrey James Hilton. These are two of my good buddies from back in the day. You've heard Jeff on the show many times. He is a good friend of Paul's as well and popped in for a little bit of a cameo on this episode. He talked a little bit too much in the first half, and I had to tell him to shut up in the second half, and it made things awkward, but, you live and learn. Hosting is hard. I'm not even sure if it was the right call. This was a hard one. I was very stressed, and you can tell. It shows a lot in the final product. So bear with me, have some patience, have some compassion, and have some fun. I love you guys. Thank you so much for being a part of this, and I'll talk to you soon. Enjoy the show. Without further ado, please enjoy this wonderful podcast with the delightful and charming Paul Blaylock Jr. and Jeffrey James Hilton. You better not steal their identities.